Hello everyone, this is part 36 of What If Naruto Was in Rosario Vampire, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Hinata was coming out of the kitchen to try and find Naruto. He hadn't had any lunch and she wanted to see if he would at least have dinner with her. She wanted to talk to him and let him know that she was worried about Mocha too. Though she could not deny being jealous of her, and of the love she inspired in Naruto, Hinata would never hate her. She also just wanted to try and help him if she could. Not only was Mocha missing, but her father had done something. She of course did not know what it was. All she wanted was to support him in whatever small way she could. As she was heading towards the stairs to try and find him, she saw 3 Narutos come bounding down them. One moved with purpose to where his wedding portrait hung on the wall. Naruto carefully took it down and headed back up the stairs with it. The other 2 took position at the base of the stairwell. "Naruto-kun," Hinata called to him. "I've made dinner, would the real you like to eat?" The clone with the painting under his arm smiled at her, as did the other 2. "Ah, no thanks, Hinata-chan, I'm a little too busy right now. But the real me will want to talk to you later tonight. Until then, please don't go upstairs or use your Byakugan. I'd rather not have your dad know what I'm up to until later." There was no anger to it, and no accusation. It was just a simple request that she not spy on him. She still flinched to hear it though. "Ah, can I at least go upstairs to my bedroom?" The clone she was speaking with shook his head. "Sorry." Despite the smiles and the kind tone, she got the definite sense that if she tried going up those stairs or used a shunshin, Naruto would be very unhappy with her. "Naruto-kun, is something going on?" His smile looked amused, but something in it made her want to quiver. "I'll explain tonight, Hinata-chan." With that he went up the stairs while the other 2 casually stood there, trying to pretend they weren't guarding the stairway. There really wasn't anything for her to do, so she went back to the kitchen to have dinner. She found she had lost her appet though. XXXXXXXXXX. Tayuya entered the library and saw it was a whirlwind of activity. There were about 50 clones running about everywhere, gathering things up and bringing them here. A number of those clones were going through the stacks and selecting hundreds of books and bringing them over to one of the tables. Along with regular books, there were also photo albums and what looked like every jutsu scroll in the house. Naruto was not only gathering books. A couple clones came in with arms full of women's clothing. One table had a pile of cash just sitting on it, along with all sorts of gold and silver, everything from candlesticks to works of art. If she hadn't known Naruto was the mansion's owner, she'd have thought he was a thief robbing the place. "What's going on?" Tayuya asked out loud. A Naruto sitting at an empty table staring down at a blank sheet of paper answered her. "I'm leaving tonight, and I won't be back for some time. So I'm taking everything I might want from this place before I go." She went over to that Naruto assuming he was the original. "That sounds pretty final," she said. He looked up at her and nodded. "Let me just guess, the Hokage told you, you couldn't leave under pain of being declared a missing nin. But you're leaving anyway to go look for Mocha. Clever girl," he sounded pleased. "You really are very smart, Tayuya. I can see how you managed to survive working for Orochimaru all those years." She grinned just a little. "He's not the only scary person I've had to serve." Naruto laughed a little. "Fair enough." The laughter drifted away and his eyes met hers. "This will be the last night you serve in this mansion, Tayuya." She suddenly felt a little fear down in the pit of her stomach. Despite his snacking on her and his occasional death threat, she had actually enjoyed serving Naruto. Whatever some people believed, Naruto wasn't insane. Unlike with Orochimaru, she had never gotten the sense he would just suddenly snap and kill her for no reason. He had told her many times that so long as she served him faithfully he would not harm her, at least not beyond making a meal of her. She had come to trust that. But that didn't mean he didn't still scare the hell out of her, or that he wouldn't kill her if he felt there was a reason to. Just what does that mean? She was careful to mask her fear. She hid it well, but Naruto could smell the sudden terror coming off her. Don't worry, he assured her. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm giving you two choices. I promise that whichever you decide you'll still be safe. Well, that's good to hear. First, if you want you can just go. You've done enough for me that I'm willing to just let you walk away. He pointed to the table loaded with cash and other valuables. I'll even give you 1,000,000 ru as severance pay. But if you decide to leave my employ you'll have to leave the village tonight and become a missing nin. She grimaced and nodded. Even with the money added in she didn't really like that idea much. If Naruto was going to disappear the leaf nins would come after her full bore to learn anything they could. And if they caught her? And what's my second choice? He smiled wickedly. Keep working for me of course. But you won't be a maid anymore, you'll become my spy within the village. You'll leave here tonight, afraid for your life. Go to one of the clans you've been spying for and beg them for sanctuary. Tell them you think I've gone insane. Believe me, after tonight no one will think you're lying. She looked at him questioningly. It sounds to me like you have more in mind than just leaving. Some things you don't need to know. But I will tell you that you're going to lose all your possessions. When you go you won't have anything but the clothes on your back. But what about all my money? I think it would look a little suspicious if you showed up holding a shoebox full of cash. So basically you want me to everything I have so I can risk my life spying for you. Yeah, you're not asking for much are you? Oh I know I'm asking a lot, but if you're loyal to me I'll reward you. I'll give you something more precious than just money. What have you got in mind? She asked warily. He looked at her with serious eyes. How would you like to be immortal? XXXXXXXXXX. Hinata was sitting down at the kitchen table. It was late, getting on towards midnight when he had finally come down to talk to her. He had sat her down and proceeded to make her a very strange offer. She shook her head a bit. I don't understand Naruto-kun. It's really not that complex Hinata-chan, Naruto said patiently. If you want you can have me as a real husband. I'll share your bed and we can have a family together. I'll try to be good to you and make you happy. But if you agree we'll have to go somewhere far from the elemental lands and disappear. We can never return or have any sort of contact with the village or you family. I will lose all my abilities and my chakra and be just an ordinary man, but I'll be yours. What do you say? Naruto-kun, to really be your wife and have a family with you is what I've dreamed of. But you're asking me to abandon my village and my family. I am asking you to make a choice Hinata-chan. You're the one who came to me and talked about love and doing anything for me. He said quietly. If you truly love me that much then I'm willing to give you what you want. All you have to do is say yes. I want to be, but I can't. She looked at him pleadingly. Naruto-kun I love you. But what you're asking me to do is discard everything else that matters to me. I can't do that. I see, he said calmly. So in the end you care more for your father and for Konoha than you do for me. Naruto-kun it's not like that. No Hinata, it's exactly like that. I don't really blame you though. I've never had a father or a real home so I can't judge. But the fact is I'm not what's most important to you. Naruto-kun. Do you know why I love Mocha as much as I do? Why? She asked in a small voice. Because she would do anything for me. Fight or K or S, and she would do it without a second's hesitation. A love like that between a man and a woman is rare, and it's worth everything. He stared at her and she flinched back from him. Real love requires a lot more than words or a few acts. It demands courage. It demands that everything else be cast aside for its sake. You say you love me Hinata-chan, and yet you won't even stand up to your own father for me. She looked down ashamed. Naruto-kun you don't understand what it's like. No, knowing your own father sees you as a disappointment. You've got me there Hinata-chan, but then do you know what it's like growing up hated and despised? Don't try and make me feel sorry for you, you have no idea what a hard life really is. She looked back up at him with tears in her eyes. Naruto-kun I really do love you. Looking at her soft face he felt sorry for her. She wasn't a bad person. Maybe if things had been different he really could have loved her. But she just didn't have the strength that real love required. Maybe she'd never had it. Maybe Hiashi had beaten it out of her long ago. I know you love me Hinata, and for that I will always protect you. But I'm afraid that it's not enough. He took out a sealed note and handed it to her. Please give that to your father when you see him. I'm afraid you have to leave now. Leave? What do you mean? He took a deep breath. I want you to leave here and never return. Consider this a divorce. You are no longer my wife. He got up and walked away without looking back, not even as he heard her crying his name. XXXXXXXXXXX. Hinata and Tayuya had left. Except for his clones, he was now all alone. He was dressed in his black ninja clothing with several scrolls containing everything he was taking with him safely tucked away. He knew his home was being watched by the Anbu. He could just imagine their panic since Hinata and Tayuya had both just fled his home. He was on the roof again, taking a long last look at the village that he should have grown up loving. He was about to begin when he felt someone approaching. Hey, well, this is perfect. Jiraiya landed on the roof near him looking worried. Naruto, what the hell are you doing? Is that any way to say hello, Godfather? Listen, kid. Don't call me kid, you perverted F. Naruto screamed at him. I haven't been a kid in a long time and you don't get to be familiar after you abandoned me. Jiraiya took a couple steps back. Naruto wasn't hiding his feelings anymore. The current intent was coming off him so strongly he was afraid Naruto was really going to attack him. Naruto, please calm down. Naruto looked at him, his face ablaze with hate and with contempt. Everything you've done has been because of orders, right? You putting the seal on me, becoming my sensei, training me, not training me, all of it was just following orders, right? No, not all of it. Naruto, whether you believe it or not, I care about you and I want to help you. Liar. Don't tell me any of your thing lies. If you actually gave a damn about me, you would have protected me when I needed you. You would have kept your promise to my father and been my guardian. But instead you ran away. And you only came back when the Hokage ordered you to. His words were like kunai stabbing him in the chest. He really does hate me. Oh Minato, forgive me for the way I've failed you. You're right, Naruto. Jiraiya felt his voice cracking. I made a promise to your father and I broke it. I told myself I would come back eventually to keep it, but somehow I never did. Not before the Hokage sent me to you. I am truly sorry, but you need to know it was never because I hated you. It was because I was afraid. I didn't know anything about being a father. I didn't want the responsibility and so I ran. I took mission after mission that would keep me from the village. And for that, Naruto, I am truly sorry. And I'll do anything I can for the rest of my life to make it up to you. Naruto stared at him and Jiraiya felt the current intent actually get stronger. Do you know how despicable you are? Naruto muttered. You didn't hate me like the others. You left me all alone to be TD because you were afraid. The great Jiraiya, the Toad Sage, the Sannin, scared off by a little boy. Why don't you put that in one of your thing books? That was when his body began transforming. The red chakra poured out and surrounded him. Naruto, what are you doing? As Jiraiya watched, Naruto's scars deepened and thickened. His hands became claws and his eyes became red instead. On his hands and red fur began to sprout and thicken. His nose and mouth stretched out as his face became much more animalistic. Jiraiya had seen Naruto's half-kitsune form often, but the changes had never been this pronounced. He looked more like some monster than he did a human. But most frightening were the 6 tails that had now formed around him. After being with Naruto so long, he understood this meant he would be able to draw 7 when he was in his vampiric form. Jiraiya took a couple more steps back without even realizing it. Naruto, have you gone insane? The Hokage will have you ked now. Insane. Naruto's voice was deep and feral and not at all familiar. I was insane to come back to this place. I should have just hidden until the time was right. But right now I don't think I've ever been more sane in my life. I know what matters and what doesn't, and I know just what to do. With his claws he ran through a series of hand signs. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Jiraiya felt his hair stand on end as the air spread with chakra and was filled with smoke. When the smoke cleared, the roof and the grounds below were packed with Kage Bushins, all looking monstrous and smiling. As one, all of them, including the original, turned their faces to the night sky and howled. Jiraiya froze, feeling like a rabbit suddenly surrounded by a pack of wolves. The instant the howl was complete, they all began to leap away, heading out of the estates. How many? The original was still there staring at him. 4,000, Naruto answered. I could have made more, but that should be enough. Enough. Jiraiya felt himself snapping out of his fear and regaining his composure. Enough for what? Almost immediately they heard screams and explosions and the sounds of battle. Enough to give everyone a proper goodbye. Naruto told him. They're going to burn and cater to my heart's content. And they'll be King Ninja too, not just villagers. I'll share my affections with everyone equally. Naruto, stop this. Naruto smiled with a mouth that was all fangs. The only way to stop me is to kill me, but you already know that, don't you, Godfather? Jiraiya stared at him open-mouthed. Naruto, don't make me do this. Naruto looked out to parts of the village that were already on fire. They won't be able to destroy the whole village, of course. Shadow clones can only do so much after all. But I expect they can probably burn down a quarter or so before they're stopped. And there'll be piles and piles of bones, of course. Naruto, Jiraiya was weeping as he formed the sign. Forgive me. Naruto felt a twinge on his chest and laughed. So you finally did something without a direct order. I'm proud of you, Godfather. Jiraiya stared. What? Naruto seemed to disappear, and in the next second Jiraiya felt a sledgehammer connect with his jaw as he was sent flying off the rooftop. XXXXXXXXXX. His eyes slowly opened. He could taste blood in his mouth and he knew from the horrible pain that his jaw was broken. Surprisingly though, he didn't seem hurt anywhere else. As his opened, they were almost blinded by an intense light. When they were finally able to focus, he could see that the Namika's mansion was on fire. Beautiful, isn't it? A tranquil voice spoke. I really do love fire. It's pure energy and filled with life as well as destruction. Looking at the flames always gives me a sense of peace. He was still surrounded by red chakra, but there was no intent now. Naruto was looking down at him and seemed totally calm and rational, even if he looked like a beast. Just so you know, I don't blame you for trying to kill me just now. You're a leaf nin after all, and I'm your enemy. Here, I never really wanted this thing. He tossed him the high-tie that Jiraiya had given him upon passing the genin exam. Jiraiya tried to talk, but it wasn't possible with a broken jaw. Instead he pointed to Naruto's chest. Ah, he said after a moment. Let me guess, you want to know why you weren't able to kill me with your hand sign. Jiraiya nodded. That's my secret, but let's just say you're not the only seal master out there. Naruto looked at him calm and at ease. You saved my life and you tried to kill me, so that's balanced out. I could go ahead and kill you for abandoning me, but I think I'd rather have you live for now. I want you to see the blackened ruins and look at the piles of and I want you to suffer. I want you to wonder what would have happened if you had just kept that promise. Goodbye, Godfather, we will meet again. And as Jiraiya watched, Naruto was surrounded by black fire and then gone. He was left alone to witness the ancient home of the Namika's ablaze and crumbling. XXXXXXXXXX. The next morning the Hokage sat in his office listening to report after report concerning the damage and loss of life from the previous night. Over 200 ninja had SD in the fighting, along with more than 10,000 civilians. Many more were wounded and had overwhelmed Konoha Hospital and the medic corps. It was a disaster greater than any the village had known since the sneak attack that had started the last war. Despite the grave situation, Hiashi kept a calm demeanor that was expected of the Hokage. The people looked to him for reassurance, and his was duty to face things with calm certainty so as to give others peace of mind. For that reason he had destroyed the note his daughter had given him as soon as he'd read it. He would never tell anyone the message that Naruto had sent to him. The note had read, I'll come back on my birthday to finish it. 4 months ago. They were in the middle of a swamp. After 7 long months of chasing after Kabuto and his master, they'd come to river country and been forced to camp right in the middle of a steamy bug-infested swamp. As was his habit, Naruto had agreed to take the last watch as his fellow ninja slept. Actually, he had offered to handle all the watches using his shadow clones. That would have actually allowed everyone to get a full night's sleep. Jiraiya had been okay with the idea, but of course Sasuke had insisted they each pull a watch. It was almost as if Sasuke didn't trust him. So instead each of them drew a watch covering a third of the night. Sasuke had also insisted that since Mocha wasn't a leaf nin, that she could not be trusted with guarding the camp. So as was the norm, Sasuke had taken the first shift, Jiraiya the second, and Naruto and Mocha had gotten up to take the last. Mocha always insisted on getting up when he did. So the two of them wound up sitting up in a tree watching the sky beginning to lighten. Naruto slapped his N as yet another mosquito took a bite out of him. It seems I am not the only one who finds your blood delicious, Mocha said, sounding amused. Naruto looked over to his incredibly beautiful wife. Her clothes were stained with mud and sweat and the day was likely to be as boring and unproductive as their last few had been. Recently they'd been searching through the bogs and marshes looking for a criminal hideout they thought was out here. So far it had proven one huge waste of time. Mocha-chan, Naruto spoke quietly. Are you happy? His wife lifted a curious eyebrow. Happy with what specifically? With this, he waved at the camp behind them. With spending all our time trekking halfway around the continent following every crazy rumor we hear. With being forced to hang out with the mega perv and Mr. Personality. With being dirty and sweaty and hot and cold all the time. Are you happy being stuck with this life? She looked at him with understanding and a slight grin. I think what you really mean to say is, am I happy being with you even though you seem to be inflicting this hardship on me? He grimaced a bit. Well, I wouldn't have put it like that, but. She cut him off with a light kiss on his lips. My beloved, you really are an idiot sometimes, she said teasingly. I never asked for life to be easy or comfortable. All I asked was that my life be spent with you. So long as we are together I am happy. He smiled and let out a relieved sigh. And besides, she leaned over and playfully ran her tongue over his ear. The S makes up for everything else. The two of them laughed so hard they wound up waking Jiraiya and Sasuke. XXXXXXXXXX. Present day. She was in her old room. It had been kept exactly as it had been the day she'd left to find her mother. The furniture was all hand-carved cherry wood, each piece unique and exquisite. The sheets on her bed were satin. In her closet were gowns made of silk, all of them of course sized for when she'd been a child. Running along the far wall were dolls, each one handcrafted of porcelain or ivory. Their eyes were all made from cut gems, rubies, emeralds, or sapphires. She could open the door to her room and call out and servants would come running to fulfill her every whim. Just as when she'd been growing up she was surrounded by wealth and luxury. She hated it. She wanted to escape. She wanted to run away to the one person she truly loved, and the one person who truly loved her. She could leave if she wanted to. With a simple teleportation she could be with her Naruto again. She could be kissing him, holding him, loving him. She could be happy in his arms again. But only until her father came. If she left without permission he would find her. She understood the vast gulf between her strength and his. There was no way for her to mask her presence from him. She could not keep him from finding her. Worse, if Naruto tried to intervene, and she knew he would, father would think nothing of killing him. She glanced down at her left hand where her wedding ring had been. Growing up she had been surrounded by gold cast into every shape and sort. She had a certain fondness for it, mostly for its decorative rather than its monetary value. But no piece of gold had ever been as precious to her as that plain ring. Naruto had spent 2 million Ru on their wedding ceremony and then just walked into a shop and purchased the first pair of rings he'd seen. Somehow that had just endeared him to her even more. There was a sharp rap on the door that brought her out of her melancholy thoughts. Come in, Mocha said. The door swung open and Karua strode in. She had on a shiny blue and cream-colored gown today along with her usual tiara and other jewels. She was far more excited about the upcoming wedding than Mocha was. To Karua it meant a chance to play dress-up in public and party. She sent Mocha a dazzling smile. What's wrong, Imuoto? Aren't you eager about the big day? No, Mocha said flatly. But why not? Karua said excitedly. She began to dance around the room. There'll be music and dancing and beautiful people dressed in beautiful clothes. She looked at her sister and giggled. And then you'll get to do naughty things with your new husband. Mocha gave her a hard look. If he even tries anything I will arms out, and maybe something else too. Karua laughed and began to dance about her. Ooh. My little sister is in a bad mood. Cheer up, little sister, just think of your wedding as an excuse to party. Did you want something, Karua? She stopped dancing and gave her little sister an impish grin. Daddy wants to talk to you. XXXXXXXXXXX. As she walked along the empty halls her footsteps echoed, click, clack, click, clack. The castle was huge, it was twice the size of the Namika's mansion, and it took time just to get from one part of it to another. And she was not eager to speak to father again. As she slowly walked, she came across one of the servants. Dressed in the fancy black and grey uniform they all wore, the servant quickly stepped aside and bowed to her. His sickly green skin looking paler than most of its ilk. His beady black eyes watched her nervously as she strode past without deigning to notice him. As soon as she had passed, he scurried off to complete whatever task he'd been set. As soon as he was gone, Mocha's mouth twisted in distaste. Goblins made fine servants once they understood who the master was, they were obedient and tireless. But their scents were rank, they were scavengers by nature, and they seemed to carry an underlying odor of rot. They were just one more of the ugly truths of this place. Eventually she came to the Orzen's chamber that was at the very heart of the castle. There before her stood a set of double iron doors 10 feet tall. Carved into them was the Acacia family crest. In it was the image of a king sitting upon his throne while someone kneeled before him, pressing head to floor in submission. Beneath the image was the family motto, "Know thy place." They were words, and a state of mind, that she knew quite well. She pushed open the heavy iron doors with ease. "You sent for me, father," she called out. "Come in, Mocha," his firm voice answered. She closed the doors and entered. This was the Orzen's chamber where her father liked to meet and impress his visitors. It was massive, being 50 yards across and having a domed ceiling 50 yards high. The ceiling was covered in a mosaic that depicted moments from her father's life. He liked to see himself as a warrior and a powerful ruler. There was a scene of him slaying a black dragon with a huge sword. There was one of him defeating and killing half a dozen rival vampires. One of his standing all alone on a field covered with human corpses, all of them wearing armor. There was a scene of his sitting on a gold throne while all sorts of monsters knelt before him. All along the far walls were tapestries depicting more scenes from her father's long and glorious life. There were weapons too, most of them forged of steel or iron. One was a great sword that shined with a silvery light, that one was made of mithril. This entire room was designed to overawe and impress visitors, and the best example of that was the chair in the very middle of the room. It was a throne set on a 5-foot-high stepped dais made of pure gold. There was more gold in that chair than many nations had in their treasuries. Father had once told her, in one of their rare conversations, that it was a hard and uncomfortable seat. But that it was made to be seen, not to be enjoyed. The fact that her father was sitting on it now was a bad sign. It meant this would be a formal Orzen's. Suppressing her urge to sigh, she went before the throne and bowed low to him. At least she was spared having to spend the Orzen's on her knees. As she stood before him, she was forced to crane her neck a bit to look him in the eye. Father had not changed at all in the time she had been away. The same short-cropped silver hair, the same blood-red eyes, the same wrinkles that extended from the corners of his eyes and lips. Were he a human, he would be considered a very handsome man in his 40s. He had on the same clothing he had always favored, a traditional-looking black suit with a flowing black cape. Around his neck he wore a gold Rosario with a blue diamond as its centerpiece. He was looking down at her with a cautious look in his eyes, as though considering what he was going to say. "It is good to see you, daughter. You are calmer than the last time we spoke." She slowly nodded. "Please forgive my previous behavior, father. I was upset with the situation." He lifted a single thin eyebrow. "And now you are not. I have accepted the circumstances for what they are. There is no need to be so glum, Mocha. Like you, Kento is a true-born vampire. He should make you a fitting husband." "He is a smirking, empty-headed fool," Mocha said coldly. Her father grinned. "Perhaps, but I did not choose him for his wit. He is very strong. Together I expect you will have some powerful children. Is that all that matters to you, father? Does my happiness mean nothing to you? I have never been one to deny anyone pleasure, Mocha. You are quite free to seek whatever happiness you can, but I expect you to fulfill your duty first." "And what duty is that?" "To breed with a man I know I will never love." "Love," he said with distaste. "You begin to sound like your mother." He shook his head wearily. "When I allowed you to see your mother and then allowed you to play about in the human world, it was in the hopes you would see the truth for yourself." "And what truth is that, father?" "That for vampires the idea of love is a dangerous weakness. You have seen the world of humans as well as the world of the yokai. The humans no longer believe we exist and the yokai all fear and hate us. There is no place for vampires in either realm. To survive we must make a place for ourselves through our strength. For us love is a dangerous illusion. Especially love for the lower creatures. He gave her a knowing look. Play with them if you must, but do not delude yourself into thinking that is love. I know what love is, father, she said, trying to keep her anger in check. Though of course I had to leave this cold and heartless place to learn. Love, real love, is no weakness, on the contrary it is the greatest possible strength. Is that a fact? He said with a soft tone. Before her eyes he vanished. In the next instant she felt his iron hand tight around her tea. He yanked her up off the floor and into the air, holding her easily with his outstretched arm. She fought to break his grip, but her struggles had no effect. Then since you have love and I do not, doesn't that imply that you should be stronger than me? Please show me this great strength. She scratched and punched, but his hand still squeezed her in. She was like a kitten trying to fight a wolf. Just as she was about to pass out he let go and she collapsed to the stone floor. I have lived 2 millennia and sired hundreds of children on hundreds of women. Do you think there is anything special in what you did, Mocha? Do you really imagine that playing house with some human was somehow unique? I walked in the human world for 1,000 years. Back in the ancient days when the humans knew us and feared us. I have lost track of how many wives and lovers I have taken. And I will even confess that in my younger days I was foolish enough to believe I actually loved some of them. But no matter how I felt, it always ended the same. I was always alone. Even when I turned them. She looked up at him in surprise. You made second-born vampires. But you always said it was a mistake to turn humans into vampires. And did you ever wonder how I gained that opinion? He asked coldly. Humans who become second-born remain lower creatures in their ways of thinking no matter what boss they are given. They are shallow and selfish and faithless. They can never be our equals, they are fit only to be servants and playthings. You're wrong, father, she said as she stood up. What I've seen is that it's not the race that matters, but only what is in a person's heart. How naive, he said. And how arrogant as well, you who are all of 17 think to preach to me. One of the 5 elders. He shook his head. Know your place, Mocha. If you wish to take some human lovers you can. I would not deny you your pleasures, and I know Kento will have an open mind, provided you fulfill your wifely duties. She grimaced. I am willing to do most of the things expected of a wife, but you will do them all, Mocha. You will be a proper wife in all ways. Or perhaps I will find this human you love so much, this Naruto, and punish him for your obstinacy. Is that what you want? He would do it, she had no doubts at all. She believed in Naruto's strength, but knew it would simply not be a match for her father's. No, father, she lowered her head obediently. I will do what you expect of me. Lord Akashia nodded. You see, your love is a weakness. But come, daughter, let's not fight. Kento is eager to look on you again. Let us all have dinner together and discuss plans for the wedding. Though it broke her heart, she nodded. To protect her beloved she was ready to do anything, even lose him. XXXXXXXXXXX. The students were heading to class when black flames appeared in front of them. When the flames disappeared, a blonde-haired man dressed in black was standing there. Spotting them, he flashed them a quick smile. Excuse me, do you know if the headmaster is on campus? Seeing a couple of them nod their heads was all the confirmation he needed. He headed off, eager to speak to the headmaster and see what he might know. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.